And welcome into the Week 13 wrap-up show with the Fantasy 4-Pack. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Matt Vitale, Frankie Santiago, bringing you guys our three and outs for the week, our takeaways from the weekend, as well as doing it a little bit differently this week. Instead of some, hot waiver targets, got to go get those fresh new guys. We're giving you guys our favorite plays at each position that may be available on the waiver wire, but also could be on your bench. And if they are, they're someone you should consider streaming. So our favorite streamers at each position throughout the playoffs. A little bit of news before we dive into the show, though. And because a Monday game is currently happening as we're filming this, we have some news that's happening from this game. If you were relying on Antonio Gibson, I'm sorry. He got hit early on. Looks like it's probably turf toe, which, given how turf toe works, we're going to have to wait to see what happens with it, because turf toe is one of those injuries where he could be out there this week or his season is done.
Yep, talk to AJ Green about it.
There's no real way to tell, because turf toe is just kind of like a coverall for injuries to the foot, and it could be a minor ligament sprain, or it could be like you'll see him in 2021. So keep an eye on him. It looks like with him gone, they've been using about 50-50 split of, I actually been tracking the carries, but it looks pretty even between Barber and McKissick. McKissick is probably rostered in most leagues. Barber is probably not. So if you were to get someone to replace him, it's probably Barber or nothing. But that one hurts to lose, especially going into the playoffs, especially with how promising that kid was looking. It stinks to see another one bite the dust.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but I think at this point in the season, you want to look for the silver lining. I think that helps him keep his value down for next season. He's a great sleeper for next year. Already on my watch list.
Sure, and if you got him in Dynasty, you made out like a bandit. Josh Jacobs, Gruden was saying, is questionable for Week 14. It sounds like they aren't sure if he's going to be able to give it a go. They're going to see how the ankle holds up over the week, and then basically probably just make him a game time decision. Or if he can't go at all during this week, I imagine they'll rule him out on Friday again. So par for the course for an ankle injury. This is only surprising to me because they initially had said that it wasn't that bad and that he probably wasn't going to miss any time. So just standard run of the mill NFL misleading with injuries, but.
Yeah, you gotta keep that team guessing here. It's 2020, so anything can happen.
On the plus side, if Jacobs comes back, he has a very good schedule, and they did say it was a minor injury, so even if he misses this week, he should still be back in Week 15 to help fantasy managers in Weeks 15 and 16 of the playoffs. Hopefully, him missing this week doesn't or get you ejected if he does miss Week 14. But it's entirely possible. But that's going to be one to keep an eye on throughout the week. Another one that you're going to have to keep an eye on throughout the week, Christian McCaffrey is expected to return this week, but they won't confirm anything yet. So once again, we're going to have to watch the practice reports, keep an eye on him, because while he's expected to return, if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play at all this week, I don't expect him to go this weekend.
I would still hold on to Mike Davis in all formats.
Yes, you hold on to Mike Davis pretty much through the end of the season at this point, because he has value even if CMC goes down again. It's hard to find someone worth more on your bench than Mike Davis is at this point. DJ Moore, another Panther who you will not be able to rely on Week 14. He caught the COVID. He will not be around for this weekend's games, which also kind of sucks. It looked like he was finally, the pendulum was swinging towards DJ Moore just in time for him to catch COVID instead of footballs for you. And then the last piece of drama that's going to be going on this week, but potentially the juiciest, the Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, who's going to start for the Eagles drama.
The old gotta watch that film, see what you got.
I mean, to be fair, you can't really expect Doug Peterson to say anything else immediately after the game. I think if anyone with eyeballs watching that game can tell that Jalen Hurts gives them a better chance to win than Carson Wentz does.
Yeah.
They're only one game out of the division, so.
Yeah, and they could catch fire like they did in the Super Bowl season, but definitely not. No, I hope Hurts plays out there, but for Eagles, I'll get more into this later, but basically you kind of hope that Wentz can find some production.
Yeah. That's all I have for news so far this week. Do you guys have any that I missed?
No, the big one from you was Jacobs and the fact that they said it wasn't big, and now it's turning out to be bigger than expected.
Oh, I actually do have a piece of news for tomorrow's game. As this episode will be airing before that. Lamar Jackson was activated from the COVID list today, so you are going to be able to use him against Dallas, which should be a really good matchup for him. You know, maybe you can recapture some of that lost mojo against the garbage team that is Dallas. So I feel if you've been holding on to him to this point, hoping that he can give you a spark in week 13, you're rolling him out there. But Vitaly, any news that I didn't mention?
No, I think the only thing that's of note, since this is gonna be coming after the game, I'm surprised how well how Washington's holding the undefeated Steelers right now. Just kudos to them.
Their defense has been very good this season. Chase Young looks like he was well worth the pick.
Very much.
All right, let's dive into the 3 and out here. Frankie, why don't you take us away as usual?
Well, I mean, you did last week, but all that aside, Baker woke up feeling dangerous this Sunday.
He woke up and chose violence.
He went out there and balled. And 334, 4 TDs. I mean, he had that fumble, but I think watching that game, I think this is the best I've seen Baker look all season, even with that 5-touchdown thrashing of Dallas, or Cincy rather. But not against the greatest defenses. Tennessee, we've been saying you can throw on them all year, you can run on them all year. They're not really that great against the quarterback, number 28, if my numbers show correct. Over his last 10 games, he's only been averaging 10 fantasy points a game, so this kind of came out of nowhere. He comes out and drops 40 on the Titans, who have looked like an objectively good football team. I mean, again, not the greatest defense, but, I mean, I don't know anybody else off the top of my head who's hung 40 on them this year.
I mean, yeah, like this is a big, especially for Baker, this is a big game. Like
statement game.
Yeah,
statement game to lay his claim that he deserves to have this job. I mean, a lot of analysts were calling for his head, saying if he can't ball out,
it's him showing that he still has it in the NFL and that he's still worth a starting job.
Well, it's like, yeah, we talked about it last week a little bit, where we talked about how the Browns are surprisingly 8-3, and you alluded to it a little bit. I think that this has to do with that toxicity leaving the locker room of OBJ being done for the year.
I've never been an OBJ fan. So.
Jarvis Landry, again, I made the small comment last episode. I said he was going to ball out. 8 for 10 for 62 and a TD.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not super balling out, but, it's a good game. And I'm not saying that, running, go pick him up, because, I mean, he has Baltimore and New York and the Jets, which 2 of the 3 of those are formidable, and I will let you guess which 2 those are. But I think that, this was the
2 New York teams.
As you said, statement game for Baker. This is, I think that he's growing. This is a growing game.
I'm happy for him. I've always liked Baker. I thought that he was one of the better quarterback picks that the Browns have made with their string of quarterbacks, and I feel like he just kind of suffered from very subpar coaching and having to deal with Odell Beckham, who I honestly don't feel like gets enough of the flack. Like, I think it's time that we start looking at, instead of is Baker the problem, start looking at Odell Beckham and the locker rooms he's burned through, and kind of be like, maybe he's the issue here. Because, Eli Manning did, while he was never great, he did turn into a pumpkin really fast. And I think a large part of that was due to having to deal with, Odell and his unfairly inflated ego. I mean, nothing's gone right for Odell since that boat pick a few years ago. Yeah. And like that just kind of sums him up. Not to hijack your Baker point, but I love that Baker did this. I'm happy for him. I want to see him and Kevin Stefanski keep succeeding. I hope that they can find a way to get Odell off their team.
Yeah, especially with, I mean, like I said, Landry looked good, and I mean, if they get another receiver, I mean, or they trade OBJ and they get another receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, I like them a lot next season.
Hooper seems to be gelling with that team. They've obviously got 2 great running backs. Their offensive line looks better. Their defense looks better than expected. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, Hooper. I mean, Hooper, you definitely, for the contract they gave him, he needs to start producing a little bit more, but I think that's something that can come with time. He is still young, and there's time for him to find his way into this offense. And like I said, if Baker's the problem, if OBJ's the problem, and that's why it's holding them back.
Big touchdown to Logan Thomas, by the way.
I did see that. I was going to bring that up. Logan Thomas, the guy who's just been like, yep, here's your 5 points, here's your 6 points.
There's always a tight end that just kind of comes out of the woodwork. This year it's Logan Thomas.
Yeah, he's just your nice cheap
Speaking of
guy.
which, if he is still out there, he should be your tight end, because we don't have any tight ends listed here because there's none. But if you're lucky enough to have Logan Thomas around,
yeah, he's already got 9 targets on the day. So so once again, he's a tight end that gets targets. You want him,
but he's a good one at least.
He is a good one. But no, I think if OBJ needs a very specific coach to get him, or just a very specific team to get him on the straight and narrow, or something, or maybe it's just him. Maybe it's just never gonna click. Maybe he has all the things that were wrong with Randy Moss, but none of the things that were right with Randy Moss.
Odell Beckham reminds me of Kyrie Irving, and not in a good way.
I was gonna say it. To get us more back on topic though, a topic I am less thrilled about. Aaron Jones has become a red zone liability at this point. To start the year,
become or has always been?
No, we had to expect regression coming into the year. 19 touchdowns was outrageous.
Did we?
I believe you were calling for that or more.
Listen, no, I may have been wrong, which also goes into my next point, but we're going to get to
that. Look at that growth.
At this point, he has 8, which, it's fine. It's not league leading. People were worried about Jamal Williams being the cause of that. No, because he leads him in both red zone attempts, total touchdowns, and rushing yards. What is hindering him, per Michael Flory on Twitter, Aaron Rodgers has a league-leading 8 passing touchdowns from inside the 2-yard line.
So you're saying his Hall of Fame quarterback and likely Hall of Fame wide receiver duo are what's hindering him? I'm shocked.
Aaron Rodgers is stat padding from the 2-yard line, which is fine, but not if you're an Aaron Jones manager. I don't like it one bit. But what are you going to do? I'm not saying not to start Aaron Jones, because he's going to get the volume. He's always that dual threat out of the backfield. He's got Detroit, Carolina, and Tennessee, which is probably my second favorite playoff matchup. So yeah. I think he's going to be fine through the rest of the season. And another running back who I think is going to be fine through the rest of the season, surprisingly, I am willing to eat some crow on James Robinson. I was calling for his head to trade him for the King's ransom after that Green Bay game. And it's a weird year. I expected the fall off going up against tough defenses. He's still averaging almost 20 carries, 5 targets, and he's averaging about 120 all-purpose yards per game.
All-purpose yards.
He's got a Cape matchup against Tennessee, who's allowing 24 or 20.4 points to the running back position per Fantasy Pros. He's got Baltimore and Chicago, but based on what I've seen, he's had tough matchups and he's still delivered, so I'm not super worried about it. And the fact that he's one of the only healthy running backs that's still out there, I think he's in a good spot rest of the season.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where if you spent your fab dollars on him early and you got him off the wire, or if you traded someone for him when he was still kind of an unknown early in the year, you are thrilled right now to have been able to get him on the cheap, as he just quickly turned into a legitimate top 7 running back. He's someone who I love seeing what he's doing. It's fun to see those guys come out of nowhere. He's interesting to me not only for the remainder of this season, but for where he's going to land on draft boards next season.
Yeah, I'm already seeing people talking about that, where people were projecting him for next year. But I think the big thing in him, with Frankie's take of trading him, I agreed with it. The process was there. Usually you always want a running back on a good team because game script will favor him, whereas you usually want a high-flying team that is losing games so you can get your receivers out there more. That's the basic process, but he's just kind of going against that because he's getting so much work.
He gets so much volume.
The old adage, too, is that you don't want a 2-down back on a bad team. So where James Robinson beats that is that James Robinson isn't a 2-down back. He almost never leaves the field. So
yeah, until
what he lacks in upside from the offense, he can sort of make up for in guaranteed volume because there's just no one else there to steal carries from him.
Yeah, until last week he had all of his team's carries within in the 5-yard line.
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. Happy to see him sort of break out. Glad to see he hasn't been sort of like dragged down with the mire that is that Jacksonville offense.
They are not looking great.
They are not. I'll take over after Frankie here. Speaking of another rookie running back here, it has to be it. Frank Reich hates Jonathan Taylor. There's no reason to not be using him now. So Jonathan Taylor had a great game against the Packers. Then he missed last game because he was a COVID close contact. Didn't end up having it, but they had to sit him out basically for a game because he could. In which neither running back that was still there, Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins, did anything. They were both supremely unimpressing in the week that Taylor missed. Taylor comes back and immediately starts gashing Houston. Just all over the field, taking him for as much yardage as he wants, anywhere he wants. Just running roughshod over them. And how does supposedly great coach Frank Reich respond? By still feeding carries to Nyheim Hines, who was 6 for 10 or something like that. He fed critical carries to him too. Like, you could be saying, wait, Ian, isn't that just change of pace? Like, no. Taylor got 13 carries. Other running backs on the team got 11. That's a split. That's not change of pace. And especially when you're still giving carries to running backs who are just being ineffective, like just flat out ineffective. Goal line carries going to Nyheim Hines when they should be going to Taylor, who is the prototypical goal line back. 4th and 1 carries going to Nyheim Hines when you're just running forward with it. Like, that is where you want to... Like, at this point, Frank Reich is actively choosing Nyheim Hines in situations where it makes no sense to choose Nyheim Hines. And it's not like Taylor's even doing bad. Since week 9, Taylor has forced more missed tackles than he had the entire first half of the season. Taylor's hitting holes with conviction. He's seeing the field better. He's forcing misses. He's doing all the stuff you want to see, but Frank Reich is still like, hey, but what if I roll out tiny-ass Nyheim Hines? He's like 5'4" and $120 soaking wet. I bet he can run through NFL D-lines. Like, no. Put them... And, like, Jordan Wilkins... Nyheim Hines, at least I can see at least a little bit because he has had games. Jordan Wilkins getting 5? Unexcusable. Like, Frank Reich, get your head out of your ass. Stop being a stooge and use your really good rookie running back the way he should be used. Get a head of steam going for him and let him get some confidence going into year 2.
2 questions, both rhetorical. Why does Frank Reich have a Minnesota accent? And are we starting up the free Jonathan Taylor hashtag?
Not yet, because Jonathan Taylor's at least got some big games. But, I mean, if this continues, yeah, I'm going to be rooting for Frank Reich's head on a pike. Get Joffrey down there.
Yeah, I mean, I like Hines. I thought he would be a great, as you said, change of pace back, getting that passing down work while you use Taylor as the hammer. But they're going all over the place with it. Like, Hines has the moves in the open field to get those, you know, in the flats, you know, first downs and maybe some red zone looks. But Taylor should be getting those like smash football looks.
And I think the thing that we weren't expecting that should change the way you view Taylor too is Taylor's looked like the better receiver. Of the two of them, he's already the better running back. He's also looked like the better receiver out of the two of them. Like, Taylor is making a case for why he should be a 3-down back, and Frank Reich is just like, la 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 la. Like, I don't know if it's just rookie hazing or what, but like, he needs to just use talent. Stop trying to big brain it. Stop trying to be Matt Nagy. Just use your talent.
Yeah, just too many coaches trying to be like, oh no, 3-down backs are bad.
Yeah.
We got to win with 14 backs. That's how you do it. Like, you're not Belichick. Just use your talent.
I mean, Belichick uses his talent. Jumping over to a game that it was a very straightforward game, went exactly as we all expected. Clearly, the Seahawks trounced the Giants. Oh wait, no, they didn't. They lost 12-17.
Yeah, that was a really weird game.
What? Yeah, like they were the Seahawks. Or I guess they don't even deserve to be called the Seahawks now. The Sea Chickens were held to 5 points in the first half.
Yeah, that was a field goal and a safety for you guys counting at home.
Yeah, like how? I know the Giants haven't improved, like their defense, and we're going to talk about that in the waiver section later on. But they do have an improved defense. The defense has been playing good, but like you're Russell Wilson, like fully healthy offense too. Chris Carson's back. Lockett and Metcalf are both out there. You got Will Dissly on the team, returned from his injury too. It's like there's no major injuries on this offense, and yet somehow with what some would argue the best current receiver in football in DK Metcalf, and another pretty good one in Tyler Lockett, and a complimentary running game, and the ability for Russell Wilson himself to run, the Seahawks lose to the Giants? This is a mirage. This team is the 2019 Packers. I don't care how good their record is. They are going to go into the playoffs and get their teeth kicked in when they go up against another good team because they cannot play worth a damn. Their defense is... they gave up 17 points to the Giants. Their defense is terrible. And the offense just... clearly, Russell Wilson, for whatever reason... this is going to segue into my next point, but like Russell Wilson fades at the end of seasons. And Russell Wilson fading at the end of the season coincides with them losing in the playoffs, unfortunately. Like, this is just dumb. I hate it. They're gonna... this is a team headed for the golf course.
Yeah, I think the only good thing is that they still have a competent coach back there. And the only silver lining is sometimes this happens, like I said, we have examples like when the Patriots lost in that game to the Chiefs a couple years back where they just got their teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
Like, good coaching, good teams, when they lose games they shouldn't lose and they get embarrassed, ideally they can take a lot from that and rebound. Now you have to see, how good is Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson at rebounding? Because it's better they find this out now when it matters less against the Giants than in the playoffs when they get exposed. So hopefully they can make some adjustments, but I'm not too hopeful.
I just don't believe it's going to happen. Because with my next point here, and we kind of danced around this in our trade shows, but the Russell Wilson fall off has begun. Russell Wilson's not cooking anymore. He's ordering DoorDash. Like, he's done. He's shown us this in multiple seasons now, and this is part of the reason why back in Week 8. When I spoke about shipping away your Seattle wide receivers, how they had hit their ceiling, I was calling the top, and you should have sold them back then for a king's ransom, grabbed pieces that had better schedules going down the stretch, and that weren't teams known as running teams that just happen to be throwing a lot. Like, we didn't mention Russell Wilson in there, but if you read between the lines, Russell Wilson obviously only scores points by throwing to his pass catchers. If Russell Wilson's pass catchers are being recommended as sells, and with good reason they should have been. Obviously, DK Metcalf has still been amazing, but Lockett's really fallen off since then, and I don't know. I just like this. It's becoming predictable for Russell Wilson at this point. I mean, I have here a chart that JJ Zacharyson tweeted out. I was trying to gather the data for myself, and he put it together in a nice color-coded chart for me. Last year, after week 10, Russell Wilson had 5 bad weeks in a row. This year, it happened a little bit earlier, but since week 10, Russell Wilson, 9.9 fantasy points, 20.1 fantasy points, 14.4 fantasy points, and 15 fantasy points. That's not going to get better as he goes into the playoffs. His matchups aren't great, and the Seahawks already don't want to throw a lot. Like, I'm sorry if you've been relying on him to this point. He might have a few more, maybe he has like 1 or 2 more ceiling games in him, but his ceiling is lower than it has been. And honestly, with Washington in week 15 and LA in week 16, he's not someone who I'm counting on. I think he could blow up in week 14, but then after that, I am willing to stream over him in the playoffs, honestly. Oh, and actually, and looking at DK, honestly, calling DK's ceiling when I did was 1 week late, because since week 9, DK, at least in our league, 3.8 points, 12.1 points, and then 25, and then 10. So he's only had 1 ceiling game since week 9. So, like I said, I'm just, and this is the Russell Wilson fall off has began, but I sweep this out to just the Seahawks team in general. I don't expect much from them going down the stretch. I think that Metcalf might be the only one you can rely on throughout the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, I was in on the sell Russell Wilson specifically train for a while now, and I think that if your league allows trades all the way up to the point you're knocked out of contention, see what you can do. Maybe you can sell somebody on the flashiness of DK or somebody else, but.
Well, and like I'm fine with what DK's shown us. I'm fine riding DK through the playoffs. He's just insane. But like the other ones, Lockett, Russell Wilson, I don't like. I'm selling them if I can for a guy that has maybe a slightly better schedule.
Right. Yeah. If you end up still having to keep DK, you're probably okay. I'm more. It's like the flash. What you can get back for him.
Yeah, you can get a king's ransom for DK. Still.
Right.
I mean, Lockett should have had a good week. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Giants are. I think. I'm gonna admit I forget my source here. They're 5th against slot receivers this season as far as points per game.
Yeah. I mean, DK was drawing James Bradbury, but he still had 8 targets, caught 5 of them, and honestly, DK dropped a long touchdown that would have given him, like 20 more yards and a touchdown, which would have changed the tenor of the day a little bit. You know, the Seahawks would have won, but Russell Wilson's day still wouldn't have looked great even with that touchdown. That just goes more towards my point of you're fine with DK because DK's a freak.
Yeah, DK's an animal out there.
Like he is just like hands down a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL right now. He's borderline matchup proof, if not just straight up matchup proof. You just roll him out there every week. But the rest of the Seahawks, I'm fine. If your league still allows trades this late in the season, I'm fine getting rid of them for lesser options on paper who give you a better chance to win.
I regretfully agree.
Well, you might still be able to get rid of Russell in our league, Frankie. I bet you there's a couple owners who wouldn't mind doing a QB swap. Tally, what are your 3?
All right, well, that was odd.
All right, I guess I'm going now. So I'm actually going to swap the order, which is kind of how we're talking about things, to talk about another quarterback who's doing much worse on a much worse team. Carson Wentz is bad. I could stop there because I think everybody in America knows how bad it is at this point. But to really get into it, like this game this week, not only did he get benched for Hurts, who was in no plans to start unless this exact situation happened, like Carson Wentz has been missing open throws. I'm going back. He's pulling a Jameis Winston-esque season minus the yards and touchdowns. He has a 14-14 touchdown interception ratio right now. And his QBR is disgusting. Like, he hasn't hit 100 once. His best game was 91, and that was the one game he threw for 350 yards, and that was against the Giants. Like, after that, the Giants just got better. And then it's not like he then played them again and only was able to get to 200 yards. Like, he is just dropping like a stone. And as we saw this week, it finally hit the breaking point, and they had to bench him for Hurts, who arguably looked better. He still had some rust on him because he's a rookie, and he wasn't even a high-drafted rookie. So I give him a lot more rope than I do Wentz, who is going into a fresh contract. So, kudos for you, Wentz. You got the Eagles from both sides. Not only are you making them lose games, but now you're tying up a cap that's about to shrink, and you're going to be taking $35 million of it a year.
To be fair for Jalen Hurts, he was number 53 overall, so he was a second-round pick. That's not quarterback high, but that's still a high pick.
Yes, it's investment. But I think Hurts is still low enough where, like, he's a guy you keep on the bench. He's a guy you need to see. He was coming off an injury.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the things. I said he's also a rookie. I give him some more. That was his first game ever.
Like I said, that was a questioned pick by the Eagles at the draft. People in Eagles front office got to be patting themselves in the back right now. I'd be like, whoo, we nailed that one. Look at this.
Wentz only completed 6 passes?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was benched and was not the leading passer for that game. Good luck, Eagles. You got him until 2024 because I don't know who's going to want to pay that man that much money.
Honestly, especially if the Eagles decide to eat some of Wentz's cap, I could see Wentz being traded this offseason. Like there are a bunch of teams out there that are going to need quarterbacks, like Indianapolis. I could see them being, if they can get Wentz for a bargain because the Eagles just eat most of his salary and they just got to trade they got to trade a pick or two for him. I could see teams taking a shot at him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much they can eat when they send him, but they're going to have to send him with a solid pick along and just get back like a fifth. Like, they're not getting much back. They're going to have to basically pay to have someone take him off their hands. Maybe he can get it done under a different coaching system. Maybe it's that. But at this point, to you, Frankie, I know he's your quarterback, but I think Dak is the better guy right now. I hate to say it. Like, the epitome, I went searching for the tweet. I think they were just saying the argument is dead, even though Dak's not even playing. They just put two clips back to back of just Dak hitting a dime on a rope just on the sideline, and then just Wentz just airballing like 3 yards over his receiver's head, right over Miles Sanders' head into the offsides. I was just like,
I'm curious. I'm looking something up here. Go keep
yeah,
going.
It was just, I'm not even an Eagles fan. I don't like the Eagles. I just like their weapons, and I would like their weapons to once again start getting fantasy points because they have one of the few premier tight ends. They have a great running back. Who I don't even want to get into Doug Peterson and his play calling at this point because basically just insert his rant about Jonathan Taylor onto Miles Sanders. That's exactly how I feel.
Well, the problem with the Eagles' weapons is that they just can't stay healthy. I mean, they're finally healthy now, but now we're seeing.
Yeah, that's where you can see the really suspect decision making in that Eagles front office is they are just on they picked Jalen Reagor a pick before Justin Jefferson. Like the Eagles need to clean house. Honestly, they need to get rid of I was jokingly saying they nailed Jalen Hurts, but they also just chose to extend Carson Wentz. So there's just bad decision making compiled upon bad decision making in that front office. The Eagles need to clean house. They get rid of your scouting team. Get rid of your GM. Get rid of Doug Peterson. Just bring in a brand new team. Ship Carson Wentz off somewhere and just find a development guy like Kingsbury to come in and bring Jalen Hurts up to speed and just start rebuilding that franchise.
I mean, it worked for them just to get this in there because you mentioned Cliff Kingsbury. They might be a little shy on that one just because of Chip Kelly and him not really working out for them, but he at least produced offensively.
Yeah.
They just need to put a good defensive coordinator around some innovative offensive guy, I think, and that could solve some of their issues.
I think the problem with getting rid of Peterson is that
there isn't one, and you should do it immediately because he's a bad coach.
Well, I agree with all of the things, but I think he has kind of that grace period because they won a Super Bowl, which is why they won't get rid of him. I feel like that slack is running out faster
I feel like that slack could be over by the end of the season with how this Eagles team is looking. With they're getting embarrassed. They're still somehow in the run for the lead to the division, but that's not because of anything that Peterson's doing. Also, I found what I wanted to look up. On the season, Carson Wentz is barely better than Dak Prescott stat-wise. Prescott played 5 games. Carson Wentz has played 13. Prescott's 5-game total was 1,856 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Carson Wentz is 2,620 yards, 16 touchdowns, 15 picks. Carson Wentz has played more than double Dak's games, and he is barely better stat-wise.
I never want to hear the argument again. I never want to hear it again. From anybody. From YouTube, from anybody else. I never want to hear it again.
Hey, I've always been a Dak fan. You know that.
But moving on to another pair of teams that did win, but I think they deserve to lose. That would be your Saints this week and the Raiders.
Not my Saints.
Yeah, whose Saints are they?
I don't know. You're looking at me and saying you're
We have the helmet. It doesn't matter. Anyways, our Super Bowl favorite Saints, they continue to do this experiment when they have we've been over this to ad nauseum at this point, but we keep going over it, and he keeps giving us new reasons why he needs to be benched. But they're just like, la, 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 la. Unless Breeze is back and it's just done, and they can get over with it.
He might be back this week.
Yeah, that's the hope. He just comes back and we can fix this. But Taysom Hill, in a close game against the Falcons, who have looked terrible this year, playing against a defense, I got that tweet prepared because of how well they are. I will give this credence that, yes, these are some bad teams that they played this season, but still inexcusable because, yes, it was Denver without a quarterback, but it was still Matt Ryan twice. So the Saints defense, 57 total drives in 5 weeks against them. 25 of those ended with a 3-and-out. 2 touchdowns total allowed. 13 turnovers, 17 sacks, 4.5 yards per play, and the QBR they've allowed 20.2. I'm sorry, when your defense is putting up numbers like that and you give the ball back, like Taysom Hill fumbled in the red zone on one of his glorious runs with 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes 25 seconds left on that clock, fumbled it, and luckily the Falcons turned it over on downs. Like right there, that should have been handing the game away. I wish they would have lost for this bad coaching to keep this guy in. Like I said, we've covered all the reasons why I hate him, but like I said, hopefully this is a glaring, like, you can't win with him. You need to go to something else.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious. I just pulled up Matt Ryan's stats for the last couple weeks. In the 2 games against New Orleans that he's played, 51.5% completion percentage, 19 to 37, 232 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. And then this week, I guess, 19 for 39, 48.72 completion percentage, 273 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 picks. Like, not great. Not great at all. The first week he was a 48.5 QBR. This week he was an 80.4. So like better, but still not what you're looking for.
Yeah, and on top of that, he has started 3 games. He has fumbled every single game. Twice in his first game, but he recovered the first one, and he has a pick in that first game.
It's almost like he's not a good quarterback, and Sean Payton just like has a secret love child with him or something, so he keeps getting him out there.
Like I said, it's usually I try and check myself and be like, am I angry as a fantasy player because my players aren't producing, or is it literally just bad football? It's bad football at this point.
Yeah, no. If they didn't play Atlanta twice and the quarterbackless Denver Broncos, they wouldn't have gone 3-0 over that stretch.
Yeah. I just want to stop talking about it, but I am happy to move it over to Derek Carr, who also sucks. He did great for you in fantasy, but that, like, looking back at the Raiders, people have been talking about the Raiders like they are this darling this season. They started off hot 3-0. They went shootout with the Chiefs, the Super Bowl defending champions. Everyone's like, these guys are a threat. They have a great running back. Derek Carr is finally putting it together. And then this week, granted he dropped 2 points, but let's not forget that it took 2 major things. One, a last-second 46-yard bomb to win the game. And on top of that, that bomb was a 0 blitz. They put nobody back to cover a ball that they, like, this is basic coaching 101. You just put somebody over the top to make sure the touchdown doesn't get scored because
you could have had Madden auto coach going, and it would have put a better play on the field.
Like, you could have probably just put all the plays in a bag and pulled a better one out just at random. Like, I would have just taken anything at that point. You could have given me kickoff coverage. Like, it was so bad. Yet they win. They look good, but it's still the Jets, and the Jets are actively tanking, and they still barely beat them. I think we're gonna see Derek. Like, if you are sitting there seeing Derek Carr being one of the best quarterbacks this week, and you're like, "Oh, I gotta go get him." Oh. No, do not fall for the trap. Look 1 week back and remind yourself of what Derek Carr really is. Like, I'm just like, I'm putting out there as just that's my big note. Do not fall for the "what have you done for me lately." Look 1 week back when everyone was just on him as this great streaming option, as just a streaming option, not as a top guy.
Yeah.
And he came out and he gave you a rough dud that might have cost you your season.
Yes.
All right.
You get it all out? You good?
A little bit. I mean, it's still gonna be gross because my next point is about QBs again and our top 5 QBs. It's a gross list. With a league that has Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, all these great quarterbacks. If you had to, one of those guys has to be in the top 5. None of them. None of the elite guys were in there. In order for our league, it might be a little different for you guys, but Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Matt Stafford.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers just got upset by the Washington football team.
Kudos. I love it.
The Washington football team are now in second place in the NFC East as they do not have the head-to-head against the Giants. But
there's so much to love and hate about that statement. So rolling it back.
Great.
From top to bottom, Baker, Derek Carr, Matt Stafford, Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff. as you know, all the analysts, we were out there just like lining those guys up. Like, it's one of these guys for sure.
To be fair, a couple of them were considered great streaming options this week. Goff, Tannehill, and Baker were all on a lot of people's like, these guys could be league leaders this week because of the superb matchups they have.
Also, to be fair, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen still haven't played yet.
To that point, great streamers and like must-start lock-in plays are two different tiers.
Sure.
Usually if you're putting somebody else as a great streamer, you're like, this guy should be a QB1 easy. He has a chance to be a QB5. But the elite guys should still hold to their 1, 2, 3. Like, you expect at least one of those guys to crack in there. And like I said, if you spent a high pick on him, you were probably counting on him this week to get you into the playoffs, and you could have missed because the other guy was just a Raiders homer who's like, no, last week was a mirage. Here we go. And then he drops 40 on you this week, and you miss the playoffs with Pat Mahomes, and you're just sitting there like, the one silver lining for this one, it is a feather in the cap of the thing that we've been saying all offseason. Most people are on this train now, is the late QB, streaming QB strategy for your drafts. If this doesn't show you that why you should do it, nothing will.
I do think the one exception to that so far this season has really been Kyler Murray. Kyler still put up a respectable total this week, and even though he is still getting over that injury, it's pretty clear that the injury is hampering him just because while he's still getting over that, they're not really sending him out to run as much, which is bringing his value down. But yeah, he's the only, and he was a fifth round quarterback.
Right.
So like he's the only quarterback, and Dak was before he got hurt. But they were the only quarterbacks that were sort of proving the like you can't take quarterbacks early thing wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it's like you're regretting taking an early quarterback this year if you did.
God, I hate that Dak got hurt so much. He was just balling out those first 5 games.
Can you imagine how many points he'd have at this point?
Oh my God!
I said, he almost has Carson Wentz numbers, and he only played 5 games.
Can you imagine how many games the Cowboys would have won?
Probably about as many as they did because their defense can't stop anyone.
We'd be scoring.
The record seems accurate. It was just Dak would have more points.
He would have so many points.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. The Stafford one was the mystifying one for me because like Derek Carr sucks, but his matchup was at least good. Like Stafford was playing the Bears, and he had no Kenny Golladay and no Deion. So like they were missing their 2 best offensive weapons, and they somehow ran up the score on the Bears. Yeah. How is Matt Nagy still have a job while we're yelling at coaches?
Because it's the Bears? I don't know at this point. Like I said, the only thing more depressing than some of these stats we've had from this week is if you look back at the quarterbacks that have played for the Bears, like as vaunted as that team is, their quarterback list is a joke. It's hilarious. Like when Rex Grossman is one of your pinnacle quarterbacks of your franchise, not just like in the recent years, franchise. Like, woof.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready to jump over to our waiver wire section?
Not at all.
Okay, well then continue with your points, Frankie.
So you guys ready to jump over to our waiver wire section?
So this week, like I said, we're doing it a little bit differently. Instead of talking about just regular old waiver wire guys, we're talking about waiver wire guys that we think could provide a boost to you in the fantasy playoffs that are guys that could be streaming options for the majority, if not literally all of the playoffs. We've prepared a couple at each position. I'll take it away with QB first. So for QB, Jared Goff was the one that was jumping off the page at us as far as we were just shouting about how terrible he is, but Jared Goff was the one that was jumping off the page as a streaming option for us in the playoffs. He's likely available in a lot of leagues, and while you probably don't want to roll him out there against New England next week, Bill Belichick's really good against rookie quarterbacks. Jared Goff's not a rookie, but he might as well be when you're going up against the Patriots defense. Like Goff's just gonna poop himself and die next week.
Other than that, such a good schedule.
Yeah, I mean after New England, he gets the Jets in week 13 and the Jets in week 15, Seattle in week 16. So I mean, like that's 2 smash matchups right there. There are other players who have good week 14 matchups. Like you can mix and match. You can mix and match here and get a very, very, very good playoff schedule for your quarterback position, which is a position that matters a lot this season, where if you don't have a difference maker at quarterback, it's significantly harder to win. Probably too late in the season to go out and grab a difference maker. I don't think anyone's trading away Kyler Murray at this point in the year. Mahomes is probably locked in. So you're going to have to find the difference makers by playing the matchups. Don't be tied to anyone's name. Use whoever has the good matchups and just pray for those touchdowns. Another potential good one, and this is if his top weapon, Kenny Golladay, gets healthy. Matt Stafford does have Green Bay, Tennessee, and then Tampa Bay. Green Bay has been better against the pass this season than they have in the past, but airing it out is really the only way that Green Bay is going, or Detroit's going to have a chance in that game. And since the firing of Matt Patricia, they've talked about playing a more up-tempo game. They talk about recognize that they were playing too slow and they need to play faster. Playing faster means passing more. Passing more should mean more points for Matt Stafford and company. So he's one where, especially week 15 against Tennessee, I'd be comfortable rolling him out.
Yeah, I talked about it earlier with Baker. I mean, they're 20th against the quarterbacks. It's bottom 4th of the league. But Matt's correct. And Tampa Bay, 17. I mean, they're both bottom half offenses in the last 2 weeks, which are really just, I mean, that's cakewalk for Stafford.
Sure.
But that is contingent for me on Kenny Golladay being back. If he's healthy.
Yeah, I don't think I want to roll him out there if Golladay is not there. Like, I just don't trust the other weapons enough.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see an anomaly game like we did with the Chicago game.
And like we were talking, I'm just going to provide a third one here because he is someone who I think could be acquirable after this past week if your league still allows for trading. Justin Herbert just laid an egg after not performing particularly well against Buffalo. 2 bad weeks in a row. Fantasy managers have very short memories. 2 bad weeks in a row, especially down the stretch, might have cost someone a bye or a playoff spot. Reach out to the Justin Herbert managers. See if you can get him for cheap if your league still allows trade, or even if not for cheap. If you have to pay normal price for Justin Herbert, you should, because he gets Atlanta, Las Vegas, Denver in the playoffs. At running back, we just have one guy. It's Cam Akers. He gets New England, New York, and then Seattle. He's another one of these league-winning running backs that were, rookies, not getting a lot of run early in the season. He seems to be coming into his own. It's too early to say for sure that he's going to be the guy back there, but he looks like he should be streamable as a running back down the stretch. If you have him on your bench or if he's on the waiver wire, because he is widely available, he's a good guy to go grab if you just lost Antonio Gibson. Wide receiver, we have Kiki Cootie, Chicago, Indianapolis, Cincinnati. Not a great schedule, but he did get 9 targets this week. We know he's been good in the past. He's not going to be getting the number 1 coverage. That's going to Brandon Cooks.
He did look good this week, though.
Huh?
He did look good this week.
He did. No, he made do with the targets he had. He did not disappoint. Yeah. He is someone who, while I don't think the matchups are great, Chicago's defense is inflated by how good they were at the beginning of the season. You can score on them over the last couple weeks. I don't see that trend changing. It just looks like that defense is, like last year. It looks like they're out of gas at the end of the year. They have some injuries racking up over there, and between that and the just attrition from having to be constantly on the field because their quarterback play sucks. Like, I think the only scary one here is Indianapolis.
Well, it's like, okay, you say that, but he just thrashed Indianapolis for 141 yards, and we saw that last week with the Packers where Indy's looking more susceptible. Like, I think that
Indy had some injuries. They're expecting their defense is going to be getting healthier. I'm still respecting Indy.
I don't know.
But Chicago and Cincy aren't good.
I think that they're still susceptible. I mean, what I saw with the Green Bay game too. I mean, obviously Houston's not as, prolific as they were with Will Fuller because he's that just deep threat that is super hard to cover.
Yeah.
But, they can get healthy, but how healthy can they get in 2 weeks?
I mean, if your lack of ability to cover is only missing a player or two, very healthy in 2 weeks, which is what Indianapolis is. Like I said, I'm still not going to just chalk that one down and say that he's got green the rest of the way. But Kiki Cootie, if he's gonna keep getting that kind of target volume, which is likely given how the Texans play, I think he is a great option down the stretch, better option than a lot of other people. and he's still available in about half of leagues. And then Michael Pittman, a guy on Indianapolis, another rookie who's, thanks to injuries earlier in the season, didn't have a chance to pop off like some of the other rookies. Kind of coming into his own. He's got a great schedule.
He's
Las Vegas, Houston, Pittsburgh. So 3 defenses you can throw on. I really like him. He's getting target volume. He's looking involved in the offense. Solid matchup play if you wanna roll the dice with him on the stretch. We have no tight ends.
If Logan Thomas is out there, go pick up Logan Thomas.
As we said earlier, go grab Logan Thomas if he's kicking around.
Yeah, the only dart throw I can even say, but he's still heavily rostered, is George Kittle, just because the coaches already said he's hopeful that he can at least get 2 games, and 2 games is the fantasy playoffs. If you're bargain bin hunting for a tight end and Kittle's out there and you get to the championship, I'd rather Kittle than most any tight end out there, even if he is not 100%.
Sure, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
For DSTs, we have 3. Our consensus favorite one was the Cleveland Browns. God, it feels so weird to be recommending the Browns for anything, but Cleveland Browns, their defense has been playing good in the second half of the season, and they get some juicy matchups down the stretch. Baltimore, who has been no stranger to turnovers and low-scoring games. The New York Giants, who, while their defense has been playing better, their offense is putrid as always. And then they close out the season with the Jets. I love this defense down the stretch.
Myles Garrett's going to have a field day.
Yeah, I mean, so like my brother was asking me about like a defense he should stream, and when he was trying to pick one up in advance of this week, and he was like, "Do you think I should go with the Browns?" I was like, offhand, I was like, "No, are you kidding? The Browns?" I looked, I was like, "Oh, actually, that's not bad." Like the Browns have got some really nice matchups. They could be a sneaky league winner for people, especially if your league uses a format that has a really high ceiling for defenses. Like they could be just printing fantasy points. Another defense who is fairly widely available right now, I think you said it was about 45% of leagues, correct? New England Patriots get the Los Angeles Rams, the Miami Dolphins, and the Buffalo Bills. On paper, not great, but then you think about Miami's going to be starting Tua most likely in this matchup. Tua's not Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a rookie. Bill Belichick eats rookies' lunch. So that's a good one. Jared Goff likes to throw to the other team almost as much as he likes to throw to his own. And Josh Allen, while he is a much improved over previous Josh Allens, he can still throw picks with the best of them.
Yeah, like I said, it's just one of those ones that I think people can take advantage of, because people probably dropped a lot of the Patriots in most leagues because they were playing against the Chargers.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough to get them. You're going to have to throw a little, like if you've got a little bit of fab left, you're going to have to throw it, because they just blanked the Chargers, and they have
special teams touchdowns.
Yeah, like they just put up points, and they have a solid schedule going forward. So don't shy away from using that last bit of fab to lock you up a good defense.
Yeah, as we've said a couple times, you can't take it with you. And then our final defense that we're recommending, the schedule is a little rougher than the first 2, but they've been low-key one of the best defenses this season. They just aren't getting respect because they're the Giants. The New York Giants, while their offense has been terrible, their defense has been awesome this season for fantasy. And like their playoff schedule isn't the scariest. Arizona in Week 14 is probably their worst matchup. After that, they get Cleveland in Week 15, Baltimore in Week 16. And like, while I know we were saying Baker's praise a little bit ago, but it is still Baker Mayfield. He still has the ability to, turn the ball over, take sacks, the whole 9 yards. And something I didn't realize even until we were doing the research for this, when I was looking at the Giants season, the Giants have logged 2 or more sacks in literally every game this season. The only game they didn't log 2 or more sacks was their bye week. And then aside from that, they also have multiple turnovers in all but 4 games this season. Like they've been getting to the quarterback, and they have been registering turnovers, which are the 2 things that you want in a defense. Ignore we said it earlier with Goff, ignore the name, play the play. Because these guys are showing the consistency you want out of a defensive unit, and they are, getting the plays on defense that get you fantasy points.
Yeah, and I mean I can't say enough. Bradbury's look great out there too.
He's looked awesome.
It's weird to say that out of the Giants. Like it's like they've always kind of been like this pushover team, and it's like they actually have it. They're back to that, New York Giants like defense.
Yeah, it is also just strange as well to say that they're on a winning streak, 4 in a row.
Yeah. No, the Giants look good. The real life Giants, not the fantasy football Giants, but the real life Giants are making a playoff push. This defense is going to want to keep playing hot. They're going to have to get some tough wins over the next couple of weeks, but if they do, it's going to be on the back of this defense. You want a defense that's chasing something, and this defense has already been playing well anyway. So, they honestly might be my second favorite. I can't in good faith recommend them over the Browns just because that schedule is awesome, but the Giants are one that you probably could pick them up after waivers clear because no one's going to be looking at them. I know we discussed this pre-show and slapped everyone down, but do you guys have any names that popped up into your brains while the show was going on?
Not at all.
Nope.
Okay. Well, that'll do it for us here for the wrap-up show then. Join us later this week as we get to the Week 14 countdown show, as well as our Week 14 starts and money picks. And as always, if you like the content we're bringing to the table, make sure to like the video, subscribe, share it to all your friends and neighbors, put it on for your cat, whatever. Get and help us get the word out there because it costs nothing to subscribe and it helps us grow the channel, which allows us to in turn provide more content for you guys. There's obviously not a lot of time left this season, but if we can get ahead of steam going out of this season and be able to increase the amount of videos we make for you guys next season, that'd be great. So, adios.